Welcome to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. The Bible tells one big story of redemption, and we want to spend 5 minutes every day journeying through the Bible from start to finish and exploring how all of it points to Jesus.
Hey guys, welcome back to the A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace podcast. My name is Kristen, and today we're going to start a new book, the book of Chronicles. First of all, great job making it to another book. And before we start through with chapters 1 through 6, let's talk about the big picture of this book, the themes, when it was written, all that fun stuff. So this book was written after God's people had returned from exile. But although the people had returned already from exile, it was way harder than they were expecting. They were facing foreign conflict, internal fighting, financial hardship. And the author of 1st and 2nd Chronicles wrote this to encourage the people. It has major themes in it, like who are the people of God, as well as themes about blessing and judgment. It also has a major theme of kingship here, so we'll talk about that a lot, especially in light of the big picture story of redemption and the kingship of Christ. This book has some fascinating stories in it, so I'm excited to dig into it together with you. And as we start with 1 Chronicles 1 through 6, we notice first off that it begins with a genealogy, starting with Adam. And it does this kind of quick run through about Israel's history. And now I know it can be tempting to skip this kind of thing. It's a bunch of names and it can be difficult to read, but as much as you can help it, try to read the section and remember who the men and women mentioned are. And since you've been reading through the Bible for a couple weeks now, you'll recognize a lot of the names here: Adam, Seth, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Tamar, to name a few. And this section goes through a brief history of what we've read so far, starting with the big picture of the lineage of nations. And then it starts narrowing in. And if you look carefully, you'll even see that it narrows it down from all of mankind to focusing in on the 12 tribes of Israel. And then it narrows it down further to the tribe of Judah in chapter 2. And we also see a focus specifically on David's lineage, because after the exile, the people were really wanting a restoration of the Davidic dynasty, but it wasn't happening like they had hoped. And this is an interesting little tidbit here too. In this section, 110 verses are focused on the tribe of Judah. And second to that, the next biggest focus is on the tribe of Levi, who are the priests, which was 81 verses total. And as we notice this, we remember that Christ came through the tribe of Judah. And he also came as a high priest. Isn't that fun? The Israelites didn't understand then, but now on the other side of the cross, we can see that God was sending someone who would stand in the gap as the perfect high priest and the Lamb of Judah. The people were waiting for redemption, and it was coming again through Christ. And now, like the Israelites, we long for this true and better king to come again and to make all things right. Like the Israelites, we anticipate and long for the time when the world is restored through the reign of King Jesus. And in application of these verses filled with genealogies, I remember that my life is just a speck in the grand timeline of history. There are so many people who have come before me, and if the Lord tarries, so many that will come after me. I just desire for these few years here on earth to prioritize what matters, to surrender my comfort, to follow the Lord, which is so much easier said than done, to pour out my life for the needy, the hungry, the lost. As Amy Carmichael once said, we have all of eternity to tell of the victories won for Christ, but we only have a few hours before sunset to win them. Let's use those few hours for His glory. And that wraps up today's podcast and the first day talking about 1 Chronicles. You can find any additional resources for this podcast at dailygracepodcast.com, and you can follow along on Instagram at the Daily Grace Co. or Daily Grace Podcast. Finally, if you'd like to find our free Read Through the Bible in a Year plan or for any additional resources, visit dailygraceco.com. Thanks for listening in, and we'll see you again tomorrow.